funky, shake it. So funky that you just can't take it. Then go on. Use or lose your thing. You got to use or lose your thing.
Hey, Richard.
They are celebrating you all over the walls, which is great. Very cool.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I've never even been here before. This is the Tom's Diner in Brooklyn.
You're not still with EMI anymore, or still with a label, or no?
I am no longer with a major label. I've started my own label called Amanuensis Productions.
What's it called?
It's called Amanuensis Productions.
What is this?
An amanuensis is a scribe. It's someone who takes dictation, basically. It's like it's like an old-fashioned word for secretary. Amanuensis to me sounds really beautiful. Because when I write a song and I'm in the flow of writing, sometimes it feels as though I'm receiving dictation from some other source, you know, some larger source.
Okay.
So I have a little logo with myself with like a quill pen, sort of, and my glasses, and
You're the secretary
I'm
in the
the
logo?
secretary, yes, I'm taking it all
awesome.
down. And so I kind of liked it because a scribe was usually a servant back in the day. So I thought it was very clever because by establishing Amanuensis Productions, I get to own the masters.
Yes.
So I thought it was kind of funny that the servant gets to own the masters of the productions. So there's all this kind of inside jokes.
That's hardcore. You just put a lot of thought into it.
All of my old CDs, pretty much all of them, except for Solitude Standing, are all going out of print.
Out of physical print.
Out of physical print.
Right.
And my contract with A&M is over. So if I want them to re-release anything, I would have to go back and fight with them, argue with them, hire lawyers and pay money and do all of that.
Sure.
So the reason I'm re-recording everything is so that I can own the masters myself. I can sell them until the end of my life.
And make
my
those
life
decisions
works.
quickly, too.
And back 25 years ago, when I signed with A&M, I never would have asked to own them. You know, I got my usual 12 to 15% of the profits.
Did you ever see any of that, though? I mean, other than publishing, which I know we all see from Record One. But
I made money from the first two albums.
I always wonder about that. Like,
yeah,
even
sure,
because I've heard stories even
still
about
do.
really big records that don't, you know, it just, with all the advertising and all the things that keep mounting.
I made some money. I made enough money that I could buy an apartment and stuff like that. You know, they don't, you know, it doesn't, people have this funny idea that once you've made it, you're sort of like over the rainbow.
Yeah.
If I show up in Phil's van, people are like, but you've had this big hit. But, you know,
Here's the
people are
Phil's-
like, where's your
here's the Phil's
limousine? Right, Phil's van. But people are like, you know, they think you're going to drive around in a limousine for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's not really the case. That's not really what it's all about.
How are you re-recording the new stuff? Are you doing some solo things? Are you
Mostly
reinventing
solo.
arrangements?
Most of it is myself and the guitar. Some of it is how I originally wrote the songs. Some of them are things that I have redone now that I've been touring so much live. In this new economy, I've been touring in a very stripped down way, so it's usually just myself and the guitar, or myself and Mike Viseglia on bass, or myself and Jerry Leonard on guitar.
There's like 3 different records.
It's actually four
okay.
different ones, yeah.
And what are they? How are you separating the songs?
When I sing live, I try to group the songs together by theme, usually in ways that are sort of unexpected. So I started to realize that a lot of the songs could be grouped by themes. And so I decided to put the first album as love songs. So that's like Caramel, If You Were in My Movie, Gypsy.
I love Gypsy so much.
Thanks.
I used to sit back and listen to that backstage when I was waiting for the show. You know, you did it near the end. You did either that or Queen and the Soldier, I remember, in this one slot.
In the one slot,
yeah.
it's sort of acoustic section.
I've always held a theory that all songwriters write the same 4 songs or 5 songs over and over again. You know, like it's like a...
I guess I'm proving your theory.
Well, I don't know. I've always thought that. I don't like to script my performance, but I always like to think of things in categories, just like you were saying, like you did Queen and the Soldier and Gypsy in that one category in the set.
Yeah.
I feel like I know the 5 things I'm good at, and I don't want to do any one of them for too long. You know, you just keep switch, and then when you circulate past the fifth one, you start over again.
Well, to give a good performance, you want to kind of alternate it between
Yes.
doing things that have a common thread and then contrasting things.
Yes.
You know, so
But,
that's how. And I didn't like the idea of like, oh, I'm going to re-record my whole first album because. The cool thing about this is you get to hear old songs right up against new songs.
Yes.
And you see the thread that binds them together.
Yeah, it's a more organic thread anyway. I don't like the recreation thing either. And I don't like the Astro Weeks live version that Van Morrison did. His voice is different now, and especially that record, which is such a fresh-sounding record. It's such a
real
breezy.
classic record,
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like
Didn't
being
Van Morrison like look you up one time on the road, or?
Okay, I'll tell the Van Morrison story. It was in Liverpool in 1987. I was playing some venue, and I went to sign autographs afterwards, and there was some guy there, and I guess Van Morrison was playing up the road. And he said, Van sent me to tell you that he's a really big fan of yours and that he'd really like to meet you and say hello. You know, I just said, oh, I'm staying at this and that hotel. I'll be at the bar. Like, send him over.
Right.
Cool, you know. So we were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for like hours at the bar. Finally, it's like the whole place is like closing down. And finally, we see the door swing open, and here comes Van Morrison walking through the door. And I'm like, oh my God, he really showed up. He sits down, he looks me right in the face, and he goes, I just want to tell you that I really like your lyrics. They have a really profound effect on me. And I said, well, thanks. Wow, it's so great to meet you. You know, we've been waiting, and I wasn't sure if you're going to show up, and it's really great to see you. And I want you to meet my bass player, Mike, because he's a huge fan of yours. And Mike stands up, and he extends his hand to Van Morrison. And Van Morrison gets up, twirls around, and leaves the room, leaving Mike standing there with his hand extended like that. And we're just like...
That was it?
And I've seen him a few times since then, and it's like no recognition, it was like it never happened. It was like
really
it was like we're
strange.
utter strangers to each other now.
I have a friend who grew up in Marin County, and Van Morrison lived down the street, but nobody ever saw him. And her parents threw this barbecue one time, like they were having this huge pool party. And just to be polite to the neighbors, they put an invitation in everyone's mailbox. They didn't expect Van Morrison would come, but he was the first one there.
Oh my God!
It was like noon.
And was he in his three-piece suit with his hat and his sunglasses and his scarf, sweating?
It's a
the way he
funny thing you
live?
should ask. He was wearing a leather tasseled suit, and it was 90 degrees in Marin County for a pool party.
Yeah.
And he
I'm
dove
sorry,
into
but
the.
that sounds like pure Van Morrison to me.
Yeah, he's famous for it.
Won't do to dream of caramel, to think of cinnamon and long for you. It won't do to stir a deep desire, to fan a hidden fire that can never burn true. I know your name, I know your skin, I know the way these things begin, but I don't know how I would live with myself, what I'd forgive of myself if you don't go. So goodbye, sweet appetite. No single bite could satisfy. I know your name, I know your skin, I know the way these things begin, but I don't know how I would live with myself, what I would give of myself if you don't go. to dream of caramel, to think of cinnamon and long for you.
I heard you play your song Caramel, and I never heard you play it without a band before. Because I was on the tour with you on that record.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the one with the apple. You're looking through the apple.
9 objects of
Nine
desire.
objects of desire.
Yes.
But when you do it solo, it sounds like an echo, like the way you're picking it.
Oh my God.
But how come you didn't record it like, I'm just curious.
How come I didn't record it that way?
In that fashion, yeah.
Because Mitchell Froome, my producer at the time, also my husband, as you know, at that time, said that we should get somebody who could really play the part instead of the way I played it. And so we got Steve Donnelly
He's
to play
amazing.
it. So if I could actually play it the way it was on the record, I would have done that. But so it's kind of Mitchell's call. Mitchell said, "It's a great song. Let's get someone who can really play it." But I don't play it that way.
It's a good track, but I still like that. Ching, 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 ching. It just feels good.
Oh, well, that's good.
You know, it's organic.
Well, I have to say, as an unstudied guitar player, half of what I do is just like sort of scaffolding for the lyrics.
I've always noticed this about your songs, and I even feel like I've been influenced by this aspect of your songs, which is that your guitar parts always support the melody. Like you're always out of the way of where the vocal is.
I think in my case, it's limited attention. I can only think about one thing at a time, so if I'm thinking about the melody, everything else drops away, and if I'm thinking about the guitar, that's the thing that comes up.
And the songs get done different ways too, because you had the guys that did Tom's Diner, and they put the beats behind it, and and all of that.
And then that took off, and it's been reinterpreted 40 times now,
Really?
or something like that.
What's a favorite way that you? Is there anything you heard that you really liked or was really creative? Or?
Yeah, one of the first ones was this girl Nikki D from California, who did a song about an unwanted pregnancy, and she called it Daddy's Little Girl. And it's one of the toughest versions I've ever heard, and she uses my voice in a sample.
All right, cool.
And the other one I really liked was called Michigan and Smiley. These guys from Jamaica, and they're really having a good time. They've like islanded it up. You know, they have all
you could
this,
do
like,
that. Has anybody else
cool.
recorded Caramel?
I wish that Diana Krall would do a version of Caramel. I would love that. I would love that.
She would kill that. That'd be great.
Yeah, she would be great. Well, the other really cool cover that I've always loved is the Lemonheads version of Luca. I thought that was really striking, really original, really cool. Really just like a really good cover.
Like you wrote a lot of really great songs when you were young, so.
Thanks.
I wonder how does it, like, because then you grow as a person and you evolve in all these different kinds of ways, or even in your case, like your career will take off, or all of these different things come in and affect you. Does it affect your entryway into the songs, or do the songs have this strong anchor where you can always find your way in? Or
when you're like deep in the process of the writing, that thing takes over itself. It doesn't matter who you've listened to before, who your influences are, what you meant. None of that matters once you're like deep in the grappling process with the song. You know, it's really you and the song and what comes out at the end.
Well, what about the one about Frank Sinatra and
Frank and Ava?
Yeah. Did you think of that in the beginning? Did you know how you wanted it to end or what you wanted to say, or is it just, I love the image of those two people and I want to write about them and see where it leads? Or
that was almost like a little throwaway for me in the beginning. That was almost like, oh, I love Frank Sinatra, I love Ava Gardner. I was reading her biography. She actually said those words, I think, that on the way to the bidets when the trouble used to start with her and Frank Sinatra, you know, that they had this great, you know, tempestuous love life, but then, you know, the minute they got out of bed is when they started fighting. So I thought, well, that's a cool entryway into a song, so I thought, let's see if I can do that. But I had the first 2 verses for years, and I never had the ending. And then I was working on the last album, and I thought, well, this is half done.
Yeah.
Better get it done. You know, just get it. Just figure out what you mean to say, and just
sometimes, you know,
just say what you mean to say, and get out that thesaurus, and like get, you know, just nail it. So I did, and it worked actually much better than I had expected.
I remember that tour in Europe You were having
Yeah,
a
me
very
too.
rough time.
It's like,
It was it was not easy out there for you guys, and it was very easy for me. I was the opening act.
I almost forgot you were
Yeah.
even on that tour
Yeah.
because from the time we landed till the time it ended, there was just all this crazy stuff going on for the whole 8 weeks that we were
Yeah.
on tour.
I remember going to Bratislava with you, and I remember I came out of the train station in Bratislava, and it was the one part on the tour where they spoke no English in the train station,
Right,
and I had to
nothing.
get myself to your gig, and the train was late, and the trains are never late in Europe.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to go right on. So I'm like rushing. I finally found someone to speak English. And to exchange money, because I needed money to pay the cab,
Right,
because they
right.
didn't have the euro.
Yeah.
And he ripped me off. I didn't trust him, so I decided to
Welcome
only
to
exchange.
Eastern Europe.
I only exchanged $20.
Yeah.
But because of the ripoff, I didn't have enough money for the cab. The cab driver got mad. Then I got out of the thing. I went into the venue, and they said, "How much are your CDs?" And I based my CD price on the exchange rate that he gave me at the train station. When I got done playing, my CDs were flying out of the place. I sold like 100 pieces. I thought, wow, I'm big in Bratislava, you know, but I wasn't. I was selling them for like $3 or something, and I got ripped off because I had to buy them for $9 from my label. So, yeah.
I was totally oblivious to all of this. I was
Yeah.
getting phone calls from, like, my brother was in jail and, you know, and all of this kind of thing was going on. So I was like, "Hi, Richard, nice to see you. Sorry, I'm dealing with this emergency." So
Yeah.
I didn't really know about your emergencies. Well, the tour began with a nebulizer for the baby, for Ruby, who was like 2 years old at that point. She had asthma and bronchitis, and I had bronchitis. And we had a nanny that we'd never met before. So I had just met her. Rachel.
From New Zealand.
From New Zealand.
She
Beautiful
was
girl.
She was hot. I have to say, I had a real crush on her.
Everybody had a crush on
Yeah,
her.
I know they did.
But
That's why I
besides her
didn't bother.
hotness, she plugged the nebulizer into the wall with no adapter. Sparks started flying everywhere, smoke, and that was the way the tour began.
Ruby's playing music now, too,
Yeah, she's playing a lot of music, all different kinds.
and reading music. She's not doing the hunt and peck that you and I do when we're writing
No,
our
it's
songs.
not the
She's-
folk way for
Yeah.
her. No, it's like classical and show tunes. That's what she's really into.
What show tunes is she playing?
Very deep into Duncan Sheik.
Oh, okay.
Spring Awakening.
Oh, that's right.
From beginning
Yeah.
to the end, 58 million times a day, 1:30 in the morning, doesn't matter. She's up playing Spring Awakening.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
I remember.
that me?
Do you have a text?
Oh,
Check
here
it.
she is now. Okay.
She's
We're
still-
on for Bloomingdale's.
Oh, okay. You gotta help her get a
Sorry.
prom dress.
Yeah.
She could hear us talking about her.
She has secret powers, I'm
Intuition.
sure. Anyway, this is part of the modern world. We have to deal with our texts.
This was really fun.
Oh, thanks, Richard.
Yeah.
This is sort of like my dinner with Andre or something,
Yeah.
except my coffee time with Richard Julian.
You come from far away with pictures in your eyes of coffee shops and morning streets in the blue and silent sunrise. But night is the cathedral where we recognize the sign. We strangers know each other now as part of the whole design. Oh, hold me like a baby that will not fall asleep. Curl me up inside you and let me hear you through the heat. Oh, you're the jester of this courtyard with a smile like a girl's. Distracted by the women with the dimples and the curls, by the pretty and the mischievous, by the timid and the blessed, by the blowing skirts of ladies who promise to gather you to their breast. Oh, hold me like a baby that will not fall asleep. Curl me up inside you and let me hear you through the heat. Oh, You have hands of rain and water, and that earring in your ear. The wisdom on your face denies the number of your years. With the fingers of the potter and the laughing tail of the fool, the arranger of disorder, with your strange and simple rules. Yeah, now I've met me another spinner of strange and gauzy threads, with a long and slender body and a bump upon the head. Oh, hold me like a baby that will not fall asleep. Curl me up inside you and let me hear you through the heat. Oh, with a long and slender body and the sweetest, softest hands, and we'll blow away forever soon and go on to different lands. And please do not ever look for me, but with me you will stay. And you will hear yourself in song blowing by one day. But now hold me like a baby that will not fall asleep. Curl me up inside you and let me hear you through the heat. Oh, 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 oh.
Here we go. Used to work in an ice cream shop, sugar cone with a cherry on top. This girl had a pretty face, think her mother might have owned the place. Still think about her sometimes, no reason at all. Took a trip in a Buick once, stayed out west for a couple of months. The apples and the
Check, please.